Boplexa. Where do baby Bop Its come from?
You just reminded me of a really funny TikTok from 2020 of a Bop It asking Dan Klitzner where baby Bop Its come from while Dan was trying to explain about the Bratz Bop It on video. Then the Bop It started flirting, then Dan set the two down, and well, anyway. I can't tell you where baby Bop Its come from because that will probably get Kane banned from YouTube, and it will also get me fired, but I can tell you how they come to be what you see on the shelves. As with every other invention, each Bop It design follows what's called the creative process. The first big thing in the creative process is brainstorming on ideas of how a Bop It will work and what will be unique about it that will make it stand out from the others. As a designer or inventor, the best ideas are written down, and at some point there will be an idea that just sparks and the aha moment comes into your mind. But you have to remember one thing. You may have a brilliant idea that comes into your head, but it's always important to do some research on the kinds of things you had in mind for your invention, in case there may be a game or other product that may be almost the exact same thing, and then that would lead to copyright infringements and violations that would get you into deep legal trouble. You gotta make sure your product is unique, different, and exciting enough that it does not copy the exact same product that does the exact same thing you hope your idea will be. Another important thing with research, for example, a new character shaped Bop It, you have to do some research and think about, okay, what kinds of things are popular in this day and age? What is trending the most right now? How big of an audience do you think would be interested in your product? You also have to make sure that if your idea involves a character of a movie or something, you would have to work with a toy company like Dan works with Hasbro to propose to borrow rights to use the character. For example, all of the Star Wars character Bop Its. Those were made possible because Hasbro had been given permission by Disney to use the Star Wars brand and characters to make those characters we see today. Once you feel that your idea is possible and you will be able to use the rights to make your idea a thing, you can write them down. Some ideas may pop out at you more than others. Then, as those ideas are written down, there are some more brainstorming ideas on how it will look. The way a Bop It will look can be drawn out or sketched in either a sketchbook or other piece of paper. These sketches are called thumbnails. Thumbnails are basically the ideas you've written down, only illustrated, almost like drawing a blueprint. You can draw as many thumbnails as you want. Draw thumbnails until you have a handful of them, and then think about and make a decision on what looks best. You can maybe even choose more than one, and see what looks best between just the two. These thumbnails are basically considered all part of what's called a concept. The concept is the whole project. Once you have a thumbnail that you've illustrated that just pops out at you, the one that's like, ooh, oh, pick me, then you can take that thumbnail and start to revise it from there, and kind of modify it. Thumbnails are usually just very quick little sketches that you just move your writing tool and whip it together. The revising of it is where you can go down to define more detail into your concept. One thing I recommend, though, while you're revising one thumbnail to make it look better, keep your other ones. They may be an inspiration for you to try something else in the future. You can draw the revised thumbnail onto a concept board. A concept board is usually a piece of poster board. Not too big, not too thick, just something that will be much better and cleaner and easier to keep for your reference. You can draw the revised thumbnail onto a concept board. A concept board is usually a piece of poster board. Not too big, not too thick, just something that will be much better and cleaner and easier to keep for your reference. Once you got the idea drawn on the concept board to make it fancy, and you're absolutely positively sure that this is what you are looking at, then the next step is to build what's called a prototype. Keep in mind, a prototype is not the real product. It's just a way to test your product to see if, how, and what is going to work. You can use absolutely anything to make a prototype for your project. I'll tell you one secret. To make the Bop It button, Dan got a sparking aha moment in his head after taking one of those buttons that say no in a bunch of different tones, put a Bop It logo sticker on it, and pretended it was a one-button Bop It. Other inventions that Dan has done for Bop It are he draws them out, pastes them on a thick piece of foam, then cuts them out with a saw blade. Then, to test the Bop It's functionalities, he takes a recording session clip from the voice actor Buddy Rubino and pretends to do the actions on the cut-out piece of foam prototype. And when you're designing a prototype, you can make as many prototypes as you want, if need be. Some prototypes may work better than others. The Bop It button's prototype had sound clips of the Bop It Extreme in it that were absolutely horrible quality, so that got revised to have clearer sounding audio clips. After you are happy with the prototype you designed and you've tested it to the way you like it, you can have your friends or other colleagues test it out as well. After everything looks like it's in order, you can propose the idea and prototype to a company that you feel may be interested in working with you and selling your product. Companies may like the idea, but they may have strong recommendations on how to make some adjustments to the prototype to make it look better and operate better. And sometimes, and this does happen, the company you propose to will not like the way your prototype works and may not want to work with you to sell your product. That can have three outcomes. You can try proposing to another company after revising it more, go back to the drawing board and start over, or drop the project and try something new. It will take time though. If the company agrees, you may need to sign a contract to allow the company to have rights and licensing to your idea. When the company agrees with your product idea and prototype, and they are willing to work with you on your project, all it comes down to is starting to manufacture the product. And for a Bop It, that includes programming of the inside circuitry and audio recording for the sound chip. But remember, the company has the final say on what it looks like design-wise, no matter what. The company, such as Hasbro, has a set audience they are aiming for to get their product that they are working with you on sold to. After units have been manufactured, programmed, made just the way the company feels like it, it gets packaged, which also gets a design, and then shipped to stores. The releasing of the product can end up taking years before it comes out. But until then, the next thing to go about is advertising. Advertising can be done through any kind of multimedia. Newspapers, magazines, online web pages, ads on apps on social media, billboards along the highway, benches. If you live in a bigger city, you may see the ones on benches quite a bit. On the sides of buses, radio stations, television networks, literally anywhere. Anywhere that the company feels like it will get people's attention. And that's why some companies have amazing graphics on their advertising, to get consumers' attention by having their advertisement stand out. Advertising for a product can happen whenever. It can be a year from when the possible release date can be, or it could be 2 weeks before the release date. Apple did their advertising for the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max in 2022, 2 weeks before its official release, with the surprise announcement of the dynamic island on the top of the phone by the earpiece. And shortly before the product's release date hits, stores like Walmart and other retailers have the product in the back stocking warehouse. And once the day has come, it hits the shelves, and consumers can purchase the product. And this can happen occasionally. After some time, a consumer may use a product and it may have an issue when the consumer uses it. If that happens and the company gets reports from either the consumers or retailers, the company releases what's called a recall, and the consumers can return the products and they go back to the company and they fix the defect or malfunction the product happened to have. And this can happen occasionally. After some time, a consumer may use a product and it may have an issue when the consumer uses it. If that happens and the company gets reports from either the consumers or retailers, the company releases what's called a recall, and the consumers can return the products and they go back to the company and they fix the defect or malfunction the product happened to have. After a few months, the retailers give feedback to the company on how sales were within that time period. The feedback can come from either the consumers to the retailers on if they like and enjoy their experience with the products, or the consumers can contact the company directly if their product does not meet their expectations. That's also why consumers leave reviews on websites, such as Amazon. If the product does not sell well with the retailer will also give that feedback to the company, and then the product will have flopped and will not be made again. Sales and marketing are a huge thing when it comes to a company selling a product. One thing I forgot to mention about designing your product. When you have a solid idea in mind and you design the prototype and show it to a company, it is recommended, not required, but recommended, to get your idea patented. A patent is a legal document that prevents anyone from copying your idea. Basically, it's a document that protects your idea's copyright. And if someone tries to steal your idea, they can get into big legal trouble because you have the idea legally patented and protected. A patent can cost from around $1,000 to over $10,000, depending on the patent attorney. It's pretty big legal stuff, so you gotta have a lawyer. Plus, if someone tries to steal your idea, and your idea is patented and legally protected, then your lawyers can come after the person who is trying to steal your idea and sue them. Which is why you gotta be extremely careful when designing something and do your research first and look and see if the idea has already been invented or created and if it's copyrighted. Because if you design it and the idea is already copyrighted, you could be in deep legal shit. Copyrights can last from the life of the original creator, plus an additional 70 years. So if you really want to make your idea work so bad, but it's already copyrighted, it will most likely be longer than you live to make your idea real, so you might be screwed. So that's basically where Baby Bop Its come from, speaking from a realistic standpoint. I mean, do you really think that one Bop It will stick one of its batteries into another Bop It's, never mind. Just remember, if your invention does not turn out well with the public, it's okay. There are many opportunities out there. Keep trying and don't give up. Dan has been inventing many different products since 1986, and look where he is today. And I'll say it one more time. Save your thumbnails from your project. They may be inspiration for your next project. Seriously, Kane Kaiser is a college graduate with a degree in graphic design. Even his instructors told him, save your thumbnails, even though he doesn't know what happened to them. Plus, if you're a designer, sometimes showing your thumbnails in your projects can be helpful when you're at an interview for a job in design, no matter what kind of design company it may be. And you never know, maybe your finalized product may be an inspiration to others, moving on to many generations to come. Sorry for the excessively long explanation, but it's super important to make sure your idea and product is done right, and does not have any problems with it. If you do ever decide to invent something someday, make sure you know what you're doing and get help from resources. Let me close this video off with an inspirational message. Your product is like your offspring. You develop your offspring and make it succeed into something wonderful. The thumbnails and concepts are ways to create your child. Then your concepts of your child may be an inspiration to other inventors or designers. And the types of ideas you had in mind may appear in other designers' heads. And it gets passed on from generation to generation, just like the life cycle. A new child is born, then it grows up, and it gives life to another child. Same thing with design and innovation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.